Hi, welcome to Infusion Health, the podcast. I'm comedian Chris Patrick, a.k.a. self-proclaimed power man, and I'm here with my co-host and significant other, Rach.
Hey, guys.
Now, today, once again, we have, as you know, me and Rach are part of the New Thought Religion, and we have our Reverend Joanne. And as we go into the new year, we're going to talk about the first chapter of the book, Science of Mind, written by Ernest Holmes, and we're going to talk about the thing itself. Now, the thing itself is kind of everything in a nutshell, because Ernest Holmes studied a bunch of different religions and kind of took part. And this is all of what it's about in the first chapter, and then how you can go on from there. I don't know if I'm doing it justice, but I'm going to let Reverend Joanne explain. Reverend Joanne, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we're talking about the thing itself. So how does the thing, like I said, is it kind of like it's all wrapped up into one, and like, okay, this is the core of what Science of Mind is about?
Well, I kind of think of the thing itself as another name for God.
Okay.
The thing itself. I think it's all there is. And when we talk about God, we don't really care what people call it. Sometimes Ernest Holmes would refer to it as the stuff.
Okay.
And as you guys know, I like to think of it as the Big Bang. I think everything that came from the Big Bang was God energy. So yeah, I think everything is the thing itself. And you know,
this incorporates all religions, just so our listeners know. Every single religion. So whatever you call him,
it
is
it, he or she.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. And you know, there's people that oftentimes I will, instead of saying God, I'll say spirit.
Sure.
Some people say higher power. That's
right.
like the 12-step work. And to me, sometimes when I say God, it reminds me of the God of my youth, where God was this guy with a gray beard up in the sky that I had to really try to find, to call out to have him hear me. And now I think more of that very power that created everything is within me. And I just would like to introduce, I wish you could see this, because it's such a great, this is what we call the teaching tool of Science of Mind. And just picture a circle.
Sure.
And the circle, of course, represents that God is the thing itself. There's no beginning or no end. That's what the circle is depicting. And then the circle is divided into three parts. The top of it is what we would call spirit, or our conscious mind. This is where we set intentions. This is where we make decisions. We could call this the seed.
Okay.
This is the seed, the idea. And then the middle part, we call the law. I like to call it the soil, because when we say a prayer, that seed goes into this part in the middle. And that part in the middle, we call it the law or soil, but it's impersonal, sort of like soil, like when a farmer plants a seed, let's say, or a gardener plants a seed, and the gardener wants a string bean. They're going to be planting string beans. And that soil is going to take that seed, and it is not going to kick it out and say, no string beans, we're going to give you radishes. The soil is what we call impersonal. The law is impersonal. That's why when we plant seeds of resentment, blame, anger, guess what's going to manifest in this bottom part? This bottom part
resentment
is the out picturing, and we call that the body. That's if you want to know where your thoughts have been, look around you. This is the out picturing of all your thoughts. I just use this chart all the time because it really depicts how our lives work.
So, for example, like if you got a friend that's walking around, I hate my job, I hate my girlfriend, I hate my wife, I hate blah, 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 I hate this, blah, blah.
Those are great friends, aren't they?
Yeah. You'd probably have to look at your friend and say, hey, listen, if you hate this and you hate that, what are you doing to change it? Are you going to keep going to your job every day, a job you hate? Are you going to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give them 2 weeks. I'm going to quit, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to find something else, or
Change the seed you're planting. And so that's why it's so important for all of us to keep our thoughts positive and constructive. Our thoughts are seeds, and they are powerful. And there's a couple different ways to look at this. If we intentionally plant a seed, like your friend, if he intentionally says, my goal is to have a new job, and I'd like to be in this area of work, and I'd like to feel good when I get there. I'd like to feel like it was gonna be really doing good for mankind in some way, and I would feel really good and happy and joyful if that happened.
Sure.
I mean, that's intentionally planting a seed. There's a lot of seeds that get planted unintentionally, and those are those thoughts like, I hate my job, I don't want to go to work, and a lot of these sometimes we have like little daydream seeds. They're not really firmly planted, and it's just like if you're going to plant a seed, if you intentionally find some fertile soil and you put the little seed in there and you water it and you take care of it and you see that it gets the proper sunlight and so forth and so on, that seed is going to have a lot more likelihood to blossom. Now, if there's these other thoughts that just are kind of strewn, like when you just strew seeds, some of them are going to take.
Right.
But that's why it's important for us to think about what it is we want and intentionally set some thoughts and plant some seeds about the things that we really want in our lives.
Now, I'm just picturing this in two different ways. So the first thing I'm seeing is a farmer is growing a corn crop, right? And for farmers in Minnesota, 1 year they put soybeans on one side and then corn on the other. And then the next year they change it. And the reason for that is because of the soil. Right. So they can keep the nutrition going in the soil. Now, you take those seeds and you put, the soybean into the cornfield, and you're growing the soybean, and that's the negative thought. You're growing this negative thought in your corn, and, it's now growing with the corn, and then now it's taking, and now it's overtaking, this is more elaborate, okay. Now it's overtaking on the corn. Now this is not in real life. This will not happen, but it's overtaken on the corn, and now it's like killing all the corn, because of the negative thought that is growing, right? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This is what can happen, right?
Yeah, the negative thoughts are like weeds, and if we don't take specific care to plant positive thoughts, guess what? It's like a garden. If you don't take specific care of it, guess what's going to come up? Weeds. So it's imperative for us to really keep our thoughts positive and constructive. And I think it's imperative for us to know what we want in life and declare it.
Well, what do you have? Well, some people are like, okay, I've done this. I've planted my seeds. I've thought positive, but I'm still at the same job. I'm still at the same. But it's like, okay, well, are you making any moves to get a new job? Have you
done the footwork?
Yeah. Have you? So basically the point I'm trying to get is that this takes work. This takes time. It's not just going to happen overnight.
Yeah. I think that the other thing that comes into play sometimes when we have a goal, so have set an intention, but if we are harboring thoughts of blame, hate, resentment, it is hard. That chokes out that seed. I think that one of the things I like to do, for instance, let's say somebody's looking for a new job, and they've kind of got their intention set, they've got their eye on it, and yet it doesn't seem to come into fruition for them. It's important to just quiz them a little bit about, are you harboring some unforgiveness? Are you harboring any resentments? Because if you are, that keeps your good from you. And so I think sometimes when people, you see them kind of on a treadmill, it's because there's some stuff they haven't dealt with, and it is keeping their good from them.
And how do you deal with? Sometimes it takes professional help to deal with that bad stuff.
Well, I just continually bang the table on forgiveness. I just continually bang that, because I think it is so important, and I think that's kind of Jesus's message too, is forgive. What did he say? 80 times 80 or something like that. How many times you should forgive? And the idea of forgiving, you remember, isn't condoning something. The idea of forgiving something, and we do it for us.
Yes.
We don't do it for the other person. We do it to get that burden off of our back. It is so huge. And I think that the sooner we forgive a situation or a person, the sooner we are going to manifest those things in life that are important to us. It's going to free us up in a way. And I have experienced this, where I've held a grudge. And when I finally became willing to let it go, I mean, I'm right, she's wrong, and by golly, I'm going to stay mad forever. I'm never going to forgive her. The minute that I became willing and realized how that was taking over my life, she'd call on the phone and, oh man, I could have been having a good day, but I ain't having a good day now.
Sure.
And so I think that as we become willing to forgive and we let that go, and again, I've experienced it, and I've seen other people, and it's like a big weight falling off of our shoulder. And when you do that, I think you are then able to say, okay, now I'm ready to accept the good stuff.
Sure. As I'm watching you, which our listeners can't, I'm seeing you like shake it off. And it reminds me of like energy healers or massagers, how they have to shake off that bad energy that they're collecting from you, because they can't keep that bad energy on you, because otherwise you don't heal properly.
Correct.
Well, the number one thing, as we go into the new year, the number one thing, plant that seed, whatever you want. Plant that seed. There's a if you want to go on that trip, or you want to go on that you want to go on that trip, or you want that new job, or the new car, whatever, you got to plant that seed. You know?
And I would encourage that everybody takes a look at making that pie chart, taking a circle and dividing it up into the different areas of your life, and determining what's working for me and what isn't. And you might have 2 things that are not working and 5 things that are working well. So you want to focus in on where do I need to make some adjustments here?
Can you explain that, a pie chart, for the people that didn't listen back in November?
What I do every year at the first of the year is I just make a circle. I'm no artist. I have this in a little notebook, but I have it year after year. I make a circle, and then I divide it just like you're cutting up a pie. And then I label the various areas of my life: spirituality, relationships, finances, career, physical. And then I sometimes put in a sliver that says recreation, adventure, like that. And look where I should focus on, and write down, here's my intentions for this or that. Here's some ideas for me to do with my family. That would be fun.
Okay, one of the things I want to stress too is that a lot of people have seen the movie or seen the documentary called The Secret, and a lot of people think, well, okay, I made my vision board, I did this. Where's my stuff? Where's it? And one of the things I want to stress is that this is work. It's a everyday thing, of meditating and setting that intention and trying to get that goal and thinking and
doing the footwork
and being positive about that. It's not just going to come overnight.
Yeah, we call our positive prayer, we call it spiritual mind treatment, and one of our slogans is treat and move your feet.
Yeah.
You know, we don't say a prayer and sit on the couch eating bonbons.
Yep.
We say a prayer and we just say, I'm open to the guidance. And, watch for things to come up. People will call you. Magazine articles will pop up. You'll be reading a book
Sure.
saying, my gosh, this is exactly the stuff I've been learning about. Like that
Yep.
book I mentioned to you, I'm reading this. It's called Atomic Habits, and it's about goal setting. And yet, don't just set the goal; set small, incremental things you can actually do.
Right.
That you will do.
And that's a lot as far as moving forward, whatever in your life that you want to move forward with. It like she said, sets. I want to lose 100 pounds. Okay, well, maybe you want to set your intention as far as, hey, you know what? I want to start exercising more.
Exactly.
Then you join the gym. Then I'm going to exercise once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week or,
Yeah, right. Take those. As a matter of fact, Reverend Debbie, my co-minister, spoke a few weeks ago about letting go. And one of the things we were talking about is not only letting go of maybe attitudes or bad habits, but letting go of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Because how many of us have too much stuff? And so actually, the week that she suggested that, I actually put down on my little to-do list, clear. And I just have to clear out one thing every day. And the thing I find, too, is that it's a little trick I do to myself. If I say I'm going to spend 10 minutes on my closet, if I go in there, oftentimes that 10 minutes will go a little longer and I'll actually get something done. But in the meantime, it isn't hard for me to say, I can spend 10 minutes doing that. But I think it's just really important, if you've got something that you know you want to do, just begin it.
Yep.
Start in small increments.
That's the interesting thing when you come to stuff, because one of the things a lot of us have as far as stuff goes is too much clothes. And the way I've gotten to it is like, hey, you know what? I haven't worn this thing in years. I don't wear it anymore. Giving it away. And I always think that, hey, you know what? There's going to be somebody else out there that's going to take it and going to enjoy it and all that. And I'm happy to move on to happiness.
Right, yes.
It's no longer doing anything for me. So let me get rid of it, give it to somebody else who could use it.
Yeah, and why do we do that? I mean, it's just amazing how so many of us in this society have so much stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And that's the thing. One of the things too is release. You just got to release it. Give it away, or it's like, well, it's not doing me any good. It's sitting here in this corner. It's collecting dust.
And it works the same way with bad habits. It works the same way with resentments. Hey, I'm going to decide I'm going to let go of that resentment. It doesn't do any good, and it possibly does harm. And I'm just going to decide just to let it go.
How about moment of resentment? There's
Say that again, Rachel.
moment of resentment. There's a lot more hostility going on in this world right now. Just releasing your moments of resentment, and frustration, pain. People are harboring onto these things too much, I think, lately, instead of just grabbing onto the light. They're just saying, okay, I'm going to choose to be just as ugly as that other person was right now, instead of choosing the better choice.
Well, and I think that's one reason why we have to be really careful about what we're tuning into, as far as even reading the paper or watching the news. I don't know if we all have to read and all that much stuff, because the tendency is that it is not positive and uplifting. I mean, we can know what's going on in the world without really letting ourselves be saturated. And I think that some of us, shall we call ourselves woke? When we can combat some of that other stuff, that negativity, that anger, that resentment, that's frustration, when we can come across with calmness and peace and love and harmony, that has a lot more power than the negativity. And so it doesn't take as many of us to overcome the massive amounts. And it really, I think, behooves us as people who are concerned about it and aware of it to really, when we see it, just say, I am not going to allow myself to be affected by that.
Yep.
I know I am one with the very power that created the universe, and I know I have the power to speak my word for peace, and I speak that word right here and right now.
Yeah.
We have very much of an obligation to do that, and why not? It enhances our life. It can transform lives. So that's what we're all about, I think.
He cut me off. I'm not going to go fly down the road and cut him off and flick him off and show him off.
Right. Yeah. And you really want to not just pretend that you're feeling okay about it. You want to say a prayer and say, maybe you want to say at the moment, Spirit, as you know, this has got me kind of riled up, and I choose not to be riled up. I choose to allow that light within me, which is the very light that created the world. I choose to let that radiate, and I'm going to radiate that right to the guy that just did that to me.
Yeah.
Just bless it.
Yeah.
And I have done this numerous times, and it just is wonderful. You don't really know what happens.
No.
Sometimes you don't know, but sometimes you do. I think I've told you guys this story, but I'm sure you've forgotten it. When I first became a stockbroker, I'm working in the afternoon, the phone rings, and this guy, customer of mine, I had sold some stock for him, and I ordered the check to be sent out to him. So he's calling on the phone. He's saying, "Where's my check?" No niceties, just, "Where's my check?" And I said, well, I looked on and of course, this was the days we didn't have computers. This was all done by paper. And I looked on my paper and said, well, I see that I ordered it out on the 5th, and if you haven't gotten it by now, why don't I just call the bookkeeper and see what's happened? And so I called the bookkeeper, and she said, "Oh, it slipped between the cracks. It's still in the account." So I had to get back on the phone with him and say, well, the check is in your account, and I can have it mailed out today. And he was furious with me.
Sure.
He was just... I said, well, I did send the instructions in, but it fell through the cracks, period. And he was just so mad. And he said to me something like, "I know what she was thinking about. She was thinking about what she was going to do Friday night." And he used some expletives. And I just said, well, that's all I can do for you is have the check sent out. I'm sorry. I hung up the phone, and I thought, I got to quit this job. This is horrible to be yelled at like that. And what a terrible, terrible job this is. And then I remembered, and I was just getting into this New Thought stuff, and I remembered reading somewhere that, we're all one. And so I sat there at my little cubicle, and I just visualized this white light of love, God stuff within me. And I visualized that light going across town to wherever he lived. I had never met him, just we did business over the phone. And I visualized that light enfolding him as well. And I kid you not, before I got done with that visualization, the phone rang. Here it is, this guy saying, "I have to apologize to you. I don't know what got into me. I had no business talking to you." I mean, that is how this works.
Sure.
Our thoughts, what we project to other people, we have a power within us, and we can use it. That's our tagline. There's a power in the universe for good, and you can consciously use it. And boy, if I could just get everybody in the world to, that's my purpose in life, is to spread that word to people who really have forgotten that they don't feel like they've got that kind of power within them.
So as far okay, then we set our intention, we plant our seed, we set our intentions. What are other ways to go through about the year, and becoming the new year?
Well, we talked about did we talk about the Jerusalem stones on this call or not?
That was back in November.
Okay.
Yeah.
We that's not a bad thing to do. We do that. I joined this group called the Optimist Club of Roseville. And they're very much along our lines too, where it comes to thinking positive thoughts. And one of the things we do at our meetings, especially if they're small groups, we give the one word we have for the year. We pick a word, just like we do with these Jerusalem stones. We give people a stone. It supposedly comes from a mine in
I love my stones.
near Jerusalem. And we put a word or a phrase on that is meaningful to us, and we keep it so we see it and we run into it and we remember, oh yeah, I'm declaring peace this year. I'm declaring I'm going to get some additional education. Whatever it is, I'm declaring I'm going to become a better parent. But I mean, these are things just intentionally and keeping them in front of us.
Yep.
I think that's a real important thing to do. And I think, we call, in our circles, we have spiritual practices. And one of the spiritual practices is what we call spiritual mind treatment, just, positive, affirmative prayer. Huge, just a huge thing to put into your grab bag for the year. Spiritual practices. Take that into, when you set these intentions, as you mentioned, do a prayer around it. Keep it in front of you. Read it every day. Maybe have a prayer partner that you affirm that with. Those are powerful things. Another spiritual practice is meditation. And so many people are getting into meditation now where we basically just stop our minds from rattling and prattling on and entertaining worry thoughts. We sit and we just try to allow ourselves to be open to this relationship with Spirit. And then
if you can't do for our listeners, if you're having problems with meditation, a lot of people are starting with breathing work. Yep. It's a great place to start.
And you can find stuff on the internet, like guided meditations. They're
all over YouTube.
And you could find them that are for 5 minutes. You can find them for an hour. So you can find one that fits you. And some of them aren't going to appeal. You're not going to like the person's voice or whatever their mannerisms. But there's so many of them that you can get help with meditation. Another tool we have is called visioning. And it's sort of like meditation, only it's more active. You sit down with, we do it within our circles, in our centers. Like we will ask a question of the universe. What is the highest and best progress, the goals that we should set for Center for Spiritual Living Minneapolis? And so we're asking this of the universe. And then that's our main question. And then we ask ourselves things like, what do I have to do to be open to this? What do I have to change? What do I have to become? What do I have to let go of?
Sure.
Oftentimes we have to let go of fear. And we just, the idea is the universe is always broadcasting. And in this way, it's more of an active meditation. You're sitting there with your pencil and paper. And writing things down. So the visioning is it's a really wonderful way to stay on track. And then the other thing that I think is probably not talked about as much as it should be, and that is service. I mean, that when you're in the pits, you're feeling, down about whatever it is you're feeling down about. If you can reach out and help somebody else,
right,
you will get right out of those pits.
Oh yeah,
that pit.
definitely.
And that's another spiritual practice is service. So there's so many things that we can do, and I think it's really good to rub elbows with positive people, and that's why it would be lovely to have our hopefully we will be meeting in person, if not now, soon.
Sure.
But we're real concerned about doing the right thing as far as the virus is concerned. But it is so encouraging to hang out with people who have positive attitudes, people who will be supportive of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being around negativity, being around negative people. I got a friend like that, and after like a while, it's like all he's doing is talking about this person, talking about this. It's just like, enough with the negativity.
Yeah, sometimes you have to make choices too, and just know that And sometimes when you're around people like that, you can deflect that stuff so they'll stop doing it because they know they're not going to get the let's dig up
jarring.
some dirt and
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah.
If you say, I found that he can be real helpful at times too.
Yeah.
that doesn't, the conversation doesn't go very much further
Yeah.
then.
So what are some other things with the thing itself?
Well, the thing itself is just the beginning, is just this idea that there is one power in the universe and you can consciously use it for your good. That power, as I like to think of it, is the Big Bang energy. However you want to think of it, it's as I said, people call it by different names. It doesn't matter. There is a power, and we can consciously use it. And Ernest Holmes said, he said that the greatest secret in the world is what he calls the creative process. And that creative process is just what I talked about, where you plant the seed into the law and it manifests outwardly. The greatest secret in the world, he said. And I think that one of the other guys, Eric Butterworth, I think he said the same thing. These guys, I mean, they may have wrote years ago, but their wisdom around this stuff is profound. And
Sure.
it isn't rocket science. It's
No.
pretty darn simple.
Right.
When people say to me, "What is your dogma?" I say, we believe there is but one power in the universe, and that power experiences life through its creation.
Well, also too, a lot of, like I've mentioned The Secret before. Now, The Secret deals with the law of attraction, but that's just one law. There are many, many laws. So just so the listeners out there know, there's many, many laws. The law of attraction is just one law out of a host of many laws.
Right. And basically, every law comes under the law of cause and effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, like Jesus said, it is done unto you as you believe.
Yep.
And so that's why it's so important for us to watch our thoughts so carefully and keep them positive and constructive. Because all the laws, whether it's the law of prosperity or law of correspondence, a law or this or that, it all comes under that cause and effect.
Sure.
It is, I mean, what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Reverend Joanne, again, it was great having you in. We just want to say Happy New Year to everybody out there. Hope you have
Absolutely.
And we're going to let, like we've done before, Rachel usually closes out, but we're going to let Reverend Joanne close us out with May You Be at Peace.
All right. Oh, I see what you're looking for. May you be at peace. May you know the beauty of your own true nature. May your heart be open. May you be healed. May you be blessed. Namaste.
Namaste. And thanks for joining us for this episode of Infusion Health, the podcast.